What's going on, friends? Logan Myerz here for Cinephellas.com. Tonight I want to talk about another comic adaptation that just hit Netflix. I'm talking about the comic Umbrella Academy by Gerard Way of My Chemical Romance and Gabriel Ba. It's been adapted by Steve Blackman for Netflix. It's a 10-episode series. So let's talk about it, shall we? So the setup of the Umbrella Academy is a group of superheroes. They're adopted by their Sir Reginald Hargreaves. And he's very hard on these kids and really training them to eventually one day save the world. So they all have different superpowers that we find out throughout the show. Early on, the narration of this is pretty good, and introducing all these different characters and trying to figure out what kind of tone they're going for at the show. We have Tom Harper playing Luther. He's like the big massive superhero in this. He's number one. He's up in space when they introduce him, and they kind of get into his story more, why he's so big. And funny, throughout the show, his siblings seeing Luther for the first time in a long time and see how big he's gotten. It's really interesting how that all takes place. David Castaneda playing Diego. He's another one of the kids that grew up, and he's kind of like the masked superhero. He's got like a little mask he wears. He has knives that he throws all the time. Emme Raver-Lampman, she's playing Allison. She's another one of the superheroes. She's famous, like an actress. Her daughter got taken away from her, so she's really torn and depressed and sad. And my two favorite characters, Sheehan plays Klaus. He's like the more eccentric one of the group. I've been in and out of rehab a bunch of times. He does a lot of drugs, and he's always like hyped up and looking for money to buy more drugs. And he's really the comic relief throughout the show. One of the most pivotal parts of the show, number 5, played by Aidan Gallagher, the young kid. He's went missing a long time ago, so his siblings have not seen him. He's a time traveler. He eventually comes back in time, and he's an older man. I think he's like 57, but he's still in his teenage body. And they're all making fun of him, and they're like, is that the teenage number 5? So they haven't seen him in a long time. He comes back, and he's really like a grumpy old man. He likes drinking coffee. He's really sarcastic and to the point, and always, shaking his head at his siblings for making, dumb decisions. And he really is a great part of the show, and I love Klaus and number 5's relationship and chemistry. The last character is Ellen Page playing Vanya. Her superpower is playing the violin, and that's how they kind of joke about it throughout the show. She was always kind of left out as a kid because she didn't have the superpowers like her other siblings did, and she just played the violin. And they're really mean to her, and they talk down to her. The dad always talked down to her, left her out. And you really feel bad for her, beginning of the show, and then towards the end, her character completely changes, goes balls to the wall, and it turns out to be fucking awesome. So with these superheroes getting back together, things aren't gonna turn out so good, and come across some occurrences with 2 assassins that are also time travelers. They're after number 5, so they come back. Coming to the Umbrella Academy and taking down anyone that comes across them. They're really badass. Cha-Cha, one of the assassins, played by Mary J. Blige, and we all know her. We love her. She's a badass in the show. It's a person you don't want to fuck around with. The other assassin is Hazel, played by Cameron Britton. He was also really great in the show. He's always eating, like he wants to eat a donut, a sandwich all the time. He's a big dude. And he goes head-to-head with Luther in the show, and it's like battle of King Kong versus Godzilla, 2 big-ass dudes, and it was really cool how they shot those scenes. And these 2 assassins wear these helmets, and they're metal, so they're always walking around. It's really creepy, how they're creeping around shooting people and trying to find number 5. There's a lot of great battle sequences in the show. What sets the Umbrella Academy apart from other shows adapted from comics, just the style of it. It's a very stylistic show, the way they use colors and the way they shoot scenes and the camera angles and everything like that. And just the overall tone of the show is completely different. And what I thought was refreshing about this is a different take on superheroes that I really greatly appreciated, and love the way that they put all these characters together in this world. And throughout the 10 episodes, there's a lot of things that go down, especially with the assassins. The middle of the show, episode 5 and 6, I think were really slow, kind of the slow burn. It kind of put it at a standstill because it had so much momentum building up, and in the middle of the show kind of drags on. But the last 3 episodes of this show are actually really phenomenal. Finding out about Vanya's character and what's been hidden all these years about her. I'm not going to really say too much. I don't want to spoil anything, but Vanya's character really develops and changes at the end of the show that really makes things more difficult for the entire family. They're all torn, they're all conflicted for different reasons. Things happen in their personal lives, what happened to them as children, and they all butt heads. I mean, literally, Diego and Luther, duke it out throughout the show, and they're always fighting like a typical family, right? Like siblings, brothers, and sisters don't get along. Number 5, he time travels, so he saw the post-apocalyptic world that's eventually going to happen. So him coming back to work with his siblings to prevent this apocalypse and saving the universe. So it's a really important aspect of the show, and like I said, he's a really pivotal part of this series and all these characters, because he's the one that can really stop this from happening. Getting the band back together and getting the Hargreaves family back together to stop this was really set up nicely, and including Vanya's character. And the very last episode, episode 10, was probably my favorite of the series. All this build up and trying to prevent this, catastrophic event from happening, getting all these characters back together, even though they have conflicts and don't like one another. They really come together for their greater good. And it really shows in the final episode. So the way they set up the show, it could definitely go on for other seasons. I don't think they signed on for another season yet. The color schemes and the overall tone and the style of the show is really phenomenal. Definitely sets it apart from other shows on Netflix. And the Umbrella Academy will definitely fill that void in your life. If you're missing Punisher, if you're missing Daredevil, Luke Cage, all the shows that have been canceled by Netflix, that's going to go to the Disney streaming service, this will fill the void in your life. It's really a great show, and I think you guys will have a good time with it. Overall, I'm going to give the Umbrella Academy a 4 out of 5 superhero hair pieces. If you guys have seen the Umbrella Academy on Netflix, what did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to hit subscribe. This is Logan Myerz signing out from the Umbrella Academy. Until the next video review. Cheers!